Here are all 36 modifications that I've done to my BMW E36, and we are going to break them down into 4 sections. We're talking exterior, interior, engine bay, and finishing the video out by throwing the car up on the lift and covering all the rest of the components, which the majority of them are underneath the car. Now for the exterior, surprisingly, there is not much to it. Now the car is a 328 IS. So I'm considering this all one modification, and that's upgrading to the M3 aesthetics. I've done everything. I've done the M3 front bumper. We got the M3 mirrors. We got the M3 moldings. This is changing. This is fake, all right? That's gonna change. But the M3 moldings are bigger and they do look better. And then for the rear, finished it off, LCW style wing, and also the M3 rear bumper and a Turner rear diffuser. This is very track focused, I want you guys to know. I know it doesn't look good right now, but it is what it is. The entire rear is stripped out in preparation for a cage. We got Sparco seats, and we're also counting like the brackets and the sliders all as one. Moving on to the Sparco steering wheel, which is a 350 millimeter, and also a Sparco quick release, as we can see there. There it is. And the last thing in the interior is just a shifter. This is a cooler work shifter. It's chassis mounted and also self-centering. Moving on to the engine bay. Now there's not much to it, but they are very vital things to do. The E36 is known to have a lot of cooling issues. So that's probably one of the first things that I did address. We're considering these mods. Upgraded to a CSF radiator, as we can see right down there. Also replaced like all the plastics and the sprouting and the fan and stuff like that. We're not counting it. But I am going to count the Stewart Components water pump. It's an upgraded pump, metal impeller, looks sexy. And then we also did a, instead of the plastic thermostat housing, you can upgrade to an aluminum thermostat housing, which is right down there. Hopefully you can see it. And then the AFE intake is really the only like performance modification I have here. And one thing that you can't see that you will see once it's up there is I did the motor mounts. They were completely shot before, and you really do feel a difference. It is a little bit louder, but it's track car. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Starting out with the suspension. I went with a KW V2 coilover, and then I later paired it with a Vorshlag camber plate. Then next up, Wilwood 6-piston front brakes, which are also paired with an E36 M3 rotor, and then of course upgraded to a steel braided line. And I also did front and rear stud conversion. And about a month later, I paired that 6-piston Wilwood brake upgrade kit with the rear, which is a 4-piston Wilwood, but it also happens to do a E46 M3 rear rotor as well. And in order to get the e-brake to work, because I did see someone comment on that, is there is a very specific billet machined ring that I will hopefully be installing here soon that fits inside to have the brake shoes actually contact it for the e-brake. So right now the e-brake doesn't work with this, but it will soon. Now the next few modifications, I have to look at the list because I want to make sure I get all 36 of them. Starting out, Turner front sway bar with adjustable end links to make sure that we got no tension at the ride height, getting her dialed in. Also, a Turner X-brace, which ties things together, makes it feel more rigid, and it does look pretty good. And a Turner adjustable front splitter. You can see the theme here. We like Turner over here. Now, I just did the entire rear end refresh, and a lot of modifications came with it. We're doing Turner rear sway bar with adjustable end links, Turner adjustable camber arms. We got Turner monoball trailing arm bushings, which you can't see, but hopefully I have a clip of it, which are actually up in this pocket here. And where their whole point is when you're under compression and rebound, you don't want any major toe changes. So it's supposed to keep the geometry of the suspension when you're on track. We also got rear upper inner monoball bushings, which you also can't see, which are up in here where the spring sits, up in this arm here. There's also a monoball bushing up in there. Same thing, supposed to keep everything where it's supposed to be when the suspension is working through its travel. Apex VS5RS with KUMHO B730s. Now, this is this guy here. They're in a 17x9 plus 30. I do run a 12 mil spacer up front, but this is what she's looking like, and it's looking pretty nice. Also upgraded because I did have a 2.93 open differential on my 328. So I upgraded to this, which is a 338 out of an automatic M3. And while I was at it, I also did the poly Diff bushings, both in the rear and also in the front. Also, while I was at it, I did a 14 millimeter upgraded front diff bolt, which you have to tap the differential to get it in there, but apparently it's important, so we got her done. Now for the subframe, we did everything also. You actually want to weld on these little tabs to reinforce where the rear sway bar is, and it's kind of hard to see it because I repainted everything, but this little bracket right up in here was welded on to the subframe to stiffen up the mounts for where the sway bar is actually attached to. And when the entire subframe came out, we did it to also do the subframe mounts themselves. We welded on plates there, and while we were there, we welded on the reinforcements for the trailing arm pockets as well. So there's another plate that's been welded in there, sealed, coated, all good to go. And of course, while the subframe was out, I did all these subframe bushings as well. And all the bushings that you see that are white are all from Condor Speed Shop. So they had like an entire catalog of all the bushings that I needed for this whole refresh. So I just knocked out all those bushings. Now, for the exhaust, I did used to run an ISR full exhaust, but it was way too loud, and I also couldn't even go on track at Laguna Seca. So I ended up swapping it out for a stock mid-pipe, at least from an M3, and then from the cat back is this Turner exhaust, which sounds freaking sweet. Everyone loves it. The only thing I will say, Turner, we need to make these a little bit bigger, all right? These need to be slightly bigger to fit the Turner rear diffuser, I feel. But it does sound freaking amazing, and that's the honest truth. Everyone says it. It freaking looks great, sounds great. I did do a couple things also here that you can't see. Underneath the car here, I did clean up this transmission brace, but maybe you can see up in here, I also did IRP. We did IRP transmission mounts, and that is actually important. When you do a chassis mounted shifter, you want to make sure that you stiffen things up, and when you shift into gear, everything needs to be where it's supposed to be. All the synchros line up, and in order to do that, you have to stiffen up all the mounts. So the engine and the transmission mount are both from IRP, a lot stiffer than stock. I did have a short shifter before this chassis mounted one, but what happened is the fulcrum point changed so much, and that whole shifter carrier assembly actually was sagging down, and that actually made the selector rod start rubbing on my drive shaft. So we deleted that, pretty much that entire assembly that was holding up the shifter. And when I deleted that, I swapped out up in here, right, this little selector rod. Right at the end of that, I replaced the selector rod seal, and while I was there, I replaced to a billet selector rod joint, which has a stiffer foam, and also a bearing instead of plastic for that selector rod. That's just supposed to apparently clean up all the play, and it was about like 70 bucks, so I did it while I was there. So that is all 36 modifications I've done to my E36. Now you're probably thinking, well, Alex, you need to drive it. Well, good thing I already filmed my first reactions to driving the E36 after all these modifications have been done. So here's my reaction. Well, it's been 2 months since I've driven this thing. We took everything out of it, including the gas tank, and we have a whole new rear end. Let's see how this goes. Imagine I stall. Huh, easy. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty loud in here. All right, here we go. All right. Cruising. I'm being a baby on this thing, but I mean, hey, a lot of work has gone into this damn thing, so I'm gonna make sure that she's good. I can't believe I'm on the road. This is so sick. I am really interested to see, once I actually start like getting some pulls in, to see the difference on this M3 diff. With the quicker ratio, like I don't know if it's in my head. There's no way. Going from a 2.93 to a 3.38, it's gotta be quicker. I mean, obviously it is quicker, so we'll see. It just kind of makes it feel like more like alive and like less laggy, I guess. Just because how long the gears were just in the regular 328, but so far so good. That's crazy. Okay. Okay. She got a little pep in her step. A little pepper in her stepper. That's crazy. Hold up. All right. I'm getting a little confident in this thing. It definitely goes through the revs faster. I mean, obviously, but it is a pretty cool, significant difference. Okay. Okay. I can get used to that. This freaking shifter is sick. Damn. Well, the brakes work, the diff works, and the car stops, so we're calling that a win. There it is, the entire 36 modifications done to my BMW E36. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned. I'm getting food.